Video today we're reacting to satisfying times karma came for awful people. Now, I think we all have experienced this type of thing where people just are complete jerks and they sometimes get what's coming to them, even though they would say that they didn't really deserve it. Yeah, I'm gonna call a cap on that, because there's some people that done some pretty effed up stuff, so yeah. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when the video comes out. If you have any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below. I'm taking all requests, and I'll react to them as soon as possible. Other than that, the link to this video will be down in the description below, so if you want to see this before I react to it, go ahead and do that. You got this 1 second to do it. Just pause the video and come back. Or if you just want to see my reaction to it before seeing it yourself, go ahead and do that instead. Everyone good? Everyone picked their choice? Well, they probably already paused the video and watched this video already by then. But other than that, let's start this video.
Ah, karma. Is there any better feeling than watching a truly terrible person get their comeuppance? The answer is no. So, if you love seeing the universe serve up delicious cosmic justice, you're in the right place. From idiotic arsonists to troublemaking TikTokers, buckle up and get ready for another generous dose of satisfying times karma came for awful people.
Is that the same guy?
Scissor Sisters. Oh, McDonald's, the home of cheap cheeseburgers from Ronald McDonald, and often some terrible customers. In a McDonald's restaurant in Utah, 2012,
there have been awful people. Like, literally, I got like this notification about someone being arrested for like grabbing a part of a hamburger, rubbing it on the dirty floor before spitting on the bun, and then putting it together and trying to give it to a police officer. True story. Some people are just messed up.
13-year-old Caitlin Lopan secured her reputation as one of the very worst. The troublemaking teen was at the fast food branch with a friend, looking for somebody to terrorize when they bumped into a 3-year-old girl. The toddler's mother was busy ordering and had momentarily taken her eyes off her. Well, the despicable duo had been waiting for an opportunity like this. Wasting no time, they grabbed the little girl and cut off several inches of her hair with a pair of scissors.
Why?
The mom, horrified, quickly scooped her child up and called the police. Eventually, the girls were taken to court and sentenced to community service for assault. However, in Caitlin's case, the judge had an offer to make. He told her mother that he'd take 150 hours from her 276-hour sentence, but only if Caitlin's mom sliced her hair off right there in the courtroom in front of everybody. Now it was Caitlin's turn to be horrified because her mom accepted. The little girl's mom got to watch with supreme satisfaction as the bullying brat got her entire ponytail lopped right off by her own mother. Talk about an eye for an eye. Or, I guess, a ponytail for a ponytail. Runaway Rider. The Czech Republic, 2020. A man was sitting on a tram, minding his own business, when he suddenly noticed a hulking figure walking towards him. He needed to think fast because, brace yourself, the approaching person was the ticket inspector. And our tram rider was trying to sneak a free lift. What a joker. The inspector got to the freeloader, but just as he did, the tram stopped to let on a new passenger. Seeing his chance to escape, the cheapskate leapt up and dashed out of the tram and across the road. Well, halfway across the road. The moron didn't look both ways and ended up bolting straight into the path of an oncoming car. Our master criminal collided into the vehicle, was flung through the air, and smashed smack dab on the other side of the road with a thud.
That's karma. Try out cheap a company. Try to cheap out on something, and bam.
Don't worry. Unbelievably, he didn't suffer anything more than a bruise. But his ego, now that was far worse off. You Rippa. Over in a South African zoo back in 2022, a cocky croc handler named Sean decided he simply needed to show off during his show. After presumably trying and failing to get any attention by flexing his muscles, he did the next best thing: annoy the 1,400-pound carnivores he was supposed to be looking after.
What the
So he
frick?
jabbed them with a stick. Wow, how did this guy get a job again? But if you think that sounds stupid, just wait till you hear what he did next. He clambered onto the back of one of them. What? Understandably, the croc didn't take kindly to this. Not that Sean
Is he an
seemed to
idiot?
know or care. He was too busy harassing it. But then a second snuck up behind him. In the nick of time, an onlooker warned the handler of the approaching danger, and he jumped away. But as he did, he turned his back to the reptile he'd sat on. And let me tell you, this scary boy was ticked off. It lunged and took a huge munch of Sean's thigh. Ouch. Then, not content with just that, the croc yeeted the wailing man away so it could get back to chilling in peace. He was fine after getting stitched up, but let's hope he learned a valuable lesson about, not being a massive douche to animals that could snap you in two. If you'd like to learn some valuable lessons of your own in a much safer way...
Honestly, PETA's I'm surprised PETA didn't get involved with that. Honestly, seems like something that we could be a part of.
All done? Nice. Okay, let's get back to justice. Up in flames. We all know fire's dangerous and can easily get out of hand. But some awful people obviously didn't get that memo. Like the two Nimrods who snuck over to an immigration and tax services building in California back in June 2023. They were there to do one thing: burn the place to the ground.
Oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
But we do know that due to their absolute moronity, it didn't work out so well. The duo of dunderheads started haphazardly throwing alcohol all over the place. Aware that they were splashing it over themselves, too. So, when they went to light the place up, they got a nasty surprise. As soon as they lit their lighters, the flames took hold of absolutely everything, and both idiots went up in flames, too. With their failure complete, they ran off screaming into the night. Yeesh, now that is embarrassing. Falling from grace. Nobody likes waiting for an elevator, but one young man from Beijing took things seriously too far. After drinking too much in a nearby bar and starting a fight with some passers-by, the man angrily ran away and started a second fight with the elevator. Yeah, you heard that right. Like someone out of a Jackie Chan.
Are you serious?
Flying kick on the door, breaking it completely. Then, despite just seeing it break and noticing the distinct lack of an elevator in the shaft behind, this genius leant on what was left of the door. Whoops. The battered piece of metal swung back on its hinges, and the moron fell straight through. He plummeted from the 4th floor all the way down to the bottom, where he crashed hard. Luckily, he survived, but broke one of his legs on impact. Crikey. I'd have more sympathy if he hadn't been acting like such a drunken buffoon beforehand. Campus chaos. One night, back in May 2018...
Honestly, the fact that he just did all that was just plain freaking karmatic retribution. Seriously, why would someone even try to fight an elevator? Especially when there's a chance that it can definitely come back and bite you in the butt. No if, and, or buts about it.
Four hooded figures broke into a Maryland college. The mysterious miscreants then crept around the campus, graffitiing discriminatory and hateful slurs everywhere. They felt pretty cocky about their nasty little stunt, too. Their faces were hidden, so they thought they'd get away with it. That is, until they realized they hadn't. See, this particular college had on-campus Wi-Fi that all students in the vicinity connected to automatically via their own specific student IDs. Can you see where this is going? Yep, the crooks were students. So, while they were running around the place causing trouble, their phones had logged onto the Wi-Fi and sent through their personal data. Joshua, Seth, Matthew, and Tyler wound up doing the cops' work for them. All the police had to do was check the Wi-Fi records and boom, they proved the 4 discriminatory delinquents were on campus at the time of the incident. The kids were charged with hate crimes and sentenced to probation, community service, and consecutive weekends in jail. Thank God they were so stupid. A hampered crime. Nobody likes to be interrupted when they're sat on the toilet. In Arizona back in 2011, though, exactly that happened when a man was startled by a sudden loud noise from his bedroom. He quickly finished his business, walked to the bedroom door, and burst inside. What he saw shocked and confused him to his core. There, stuck firmly in his bedroom laundry basket, was a stranger. What? Well, it turns out the guy was a wannabe robber who crawled through the open window and jumped down. But in a case of instant karma, he'd landed slap bang in the laundry hamper, got tangled in the netting, and couldn't get back out. Wasting no time, the homeowner called the police. Then, probably feeling a whole heap of secondhand embarrassment, he actually helped the crook out of his sticky situation before waiting with him for the cops to show up. Sure, this is karma, but I'd have left that dude in the basket as long as possible. Rat versus
I can kind of agree with that.
If there's one thing I absolutely can't stand,
because there's going to be the chance that.
But sometimes the animal.
Because there is the chance that that they will just, attack you to try to escape. The fact that he actually just sat down and actually agreed to wait is surprising by itself.
Animals get their own back. Some time ago, Reddit user KeysPlease88 worked in a pet store. Usually the job was fine. However, 2 parents would occasionally come in with their daughter and let her run rampant. One day, this behavior went too far. Keys Please saw the horrid little brat reaching into a cage and lifting a tiny puppy out by one of its legs. Ah, no. They ran over to yell at the child, but the annoying terror dropped the puppy 4 feet onto the tiled floor, turned their back, and pretended they were totally innocent. Predictably, the parents wouldn't admit their child had done anything wrong. So, fed up with their behavior, Keys ordered them all to leave. They refused. Incensed, our hero was about to leave to inform the manager when they noticed the girl poking her fingers into a rat cage and shaking it. Well, this particular rat had just given birth to pups, and rats are mega defensive mothers. Bam! The world's #1 mom took a huge bite out of the little brat's finger. Pandemonium ensued, with the brat girl crying and her parents freaking out. In the end, Keys and their manager patched the kid up and calmed everyone down. But unfortunately, the horrible family weren't banned from the store. Luckily, though, they didn't need to be. During a later visit, the mother incessantly pestered a macaw and ended up getting attacked by it, after which the whole family stopped visiting. Good riddance. On the other hand, both the rat mama and the macaw were handsomely rewarded for their bravery. The rat got bought as a pet, and the macaw got a whole load of French fries. I guess karma does work both ways. A little spill. Over the last few years,
that's some good luck
practice
for
of criminals
those
stealing
two.
used cooking oil has become increasingly common. This is because they can make an absolute killing selling the oil on, as it can be converted to biofuels for use in diesel vehicles. So when one pub in Lancashire, UK opened up to find that a couple of barrels of their oil were missing, they were disappointed but not exactly surprised. What did surprise them, however, was what they saw in the CCTV footage of the night before. The robbers were caught on camera lugging barrels from the pub to a nearby van, but they were clearly struggling to move the cumbersome containers. And then it happened. One of the thieves tripped over a barrel, fell straight onto the floor, and knocked the entire thing over. Its contents poured all over him, and he wound up absolutely covered in gloopy, smelly oil. Ha! Karma is a dish best served sticky. Like
Isn't it best served cold?
Scotland's a beautiful country, but it still has its fair share of intolerable people. Over in Edinburgh in early 2023, one of those people got their comeuppance in a glorious way. A youth was hanging around outside a store when he noticed it had a revolving door. So, like a true pea-brain, he decided to start running around inside it, pushing it in circles as fast as he could. Now, don't
That
get me
doesn't
wrong,
sound good.
I used to love roundabouts as a kid, but big glass doors? Yeah, there's a reason they're not in playgrounds. It seems this guy didn't get the memo, though. He just wanted to be the most annoying brat possible. Predictably, however, he lost his balance, tripped, and crashed slap bang into a wall.
Yeah.
Just because he got stopped in his tracks, though, doesn't mean the door followed suit. Almost immediately afterwards, the panel behind him swung bam into his head. Ouch. Well, you know what they say, what goes around comes around.
Can't disagree.
Candy crushed. Kids can be awful, can't they? When a Facebook user was out at a dollar store
Depends.
shopping for some gardening supplies, they got a first-hand look at one of the vilest. The child was screaming at their mom, insulting and cussing at her abhorrently. Turns out the little gremlin was throwing the huge tantrum over a candy bar. They wanted the biggest
Are you
one in
kidding
the
me?
store, but their mom wasn't letting them, and rightfully so. So, our anonymous Facebook poster was shocked to overhear the mother giving in and promising to buy the bar. Now, an injustice like this simply wouldn't stand for our hero. They knew the candy in question was right by the cash register, and the mom wasn't going to buy it until she was about to pay. So, like Batman himself, they waited in the shadows for the horrid child and his defeated mother to start approaching the register. Then, it was justice time. The poster leapt into action and grabbed every single bar, buying them right in front of the flabbergasted kid. They didn't plan on spending $24 on candy that day, but it was all worth it to see the look on that little monster's face. So remember, never cuss out your mom. Drive-thru disaster. Oh,
I would be downright furious if someone actually cussed down my mom. I gotta ask, would anyone feel the same way? Because I know I would. Unless they're an abusive mother, then...
I do
yeah.
love chicken. You know what I hate, though? Karens. So,
Oh,
North Carolina,
the bane of all people.
Back in May 2022, I'd have been really conflicted. See, one of the employees at the drive-thru noticed a woman nodding off in her car while waiting for her food. Concerned, they asked her if she was okay and politely told her she probably shouldn't be driving. Little did they know, they'd just provoked the wrath of a wild Karen. The woman suddenly became animated and leapt out of her car to argue with the staff. Despite the fact they were just looking out for her, she started berating them, the Karen's special move. However, she was so eager to fight, she forgot one pretty crucial detail. Her car was still in drive, and it had clearly had enough of her. It rolled forwards at speed, causing Karen to panic and run frantically after it. Unfortunately, she was more adept at running her mouth than actually running, so the vehicle wound up in a ditch at the end of the parking lot. Karen probably didn't get her chicken, but the karma was even more delicious. For us, at least.
True.
Bicycle bounce.
Bicycle
Some people
bounce.
protect their bikes with locks, others by keeping them in sheds.
Yeah.
But really clever people, they use ropes. Why?
Why?
Because if criminals try to steal the bicycle, they get a nasty surprise. One budding thief found this out the hard way back in 2020. He'd spotted a bike seemingly unattended and unsecured in an alley outside someone's house. Thinking that today was his lucky day, the guy hopped on and started frantically riding downhill away from the scene of the crime. He'd been so fixated on the bike itself, though, that he failed to notice one thing: the rope attached to the back of it. And guess what? It was tied to the nearby fence. As the thief pedaled away, the rope was pulling tighter and tighter behind him until he was made aware of its existence the hard way. Unable to go any further, it snapped taut and the crook was flung over the handlebars, smacking down hard onto the ground below. Kapow! And talk about being at the end of your rope. Litter chug. Now, I'm sure you guys all know that you shouldn't litter. I'm sure even more of you know that you shouldn't drink and drive. But what happens when somebody does both of those things at the same time? The karma police come calling, that's what. An Uber driver was drinking beer while driving around his neighborhood like a complete tool. Probably worried about being seen with the beverage, he quickly guzzled it before lowering his window to dispose of the evidence. Unfortunately for him, his aim was awful and he hadn't lowered the window all the way. So instead of flying through the air behind him, the bottle smashed straight through the glass, shattering both to pieces. The dangerous driver somehow managed to avoid any injuries, but I'm sure his wallet wasn't so lucky after that repair job. Cows and...
Wow. Well, now we're just getting straight up idiots. Jeez. Actually, who actually had that story? Did he actually observe it? Was that him or what? I don't know.
Karma.
Others made
The
sense,
worst
but
part
that
about
one
driving
that just
is
seemed too
other
personal.
drivers. I've lost count of the number of times I've been out and about in the Amaze-mobile when some inconsiderate jerk cuts me off. Most of the time, these guys get off scot-free and continue to tick off other drivers, but not all the time. A Reddit user was cruising to work one day when one such jerk made an unwelcome appearance. Just as OP was slowing down before a stoplight, the driver behind him sped up, swerved ahead of them and into their lane and cut them off. It gets me riled up just thinking about it. Thankfully, Karma had OP's back that day. See, the space that the jerk now occupied, which should have been where OP was right next to a cattle truck full of cows. And while they waited for the red light, one of the cows had a sudden uncontrollable need to use the bathroom. So it did, all over the offending driver's car. Now it was their turn to be enraged while OP sat smugly and laughed. The universe works in mysterious ways. On your left, it takes a bigger person than me to laugh at their own karmic comeuppance, but Reddit user The Resident Junkie may well be that person. See, back when they were in the military, they had a bit of a nemesis. Someone who, without fail, would always lap them when they were running together. Junkie was super competitive, so this would really annoy him. But one day, he realized he might actually be about to pass his nemesis, and it was on. With an incredible burst of energy, Junkie pushed ahead and finally overtook him. Then came the big mistake. He turned to look back at his foe, gloatingly shouted, "Gotcha!" A show of unsportsmanlike behavior that was immediately punished when his foot plunged into a ditch and he twisted his ankle, bringing him crashing to the ground. Once again, his nemesis ran past him laughing, but even Junkie admits that painful plummet was well-deserved. Bothersome boaters.
Yeah.
You'd think that a relaxing day...
Yeah, that's why you really don't try to invoke something bad, because honestly, it comes and bites you in the ass.
on the lake would be enough to chill
Happened to
out
me
even
once
the
or
biggest
twice.
blockheads. Unfortunately, it seems they never take time off.
But then I was
Twitter
younger
user
and an
Robbie
idiot
his
back then.
family found this out the hard way when they were trying to enjoy a boat outing at their local lake. Suddenly, some total strangers on another boat sped up to them and started yelling and harassing them. Of course, Robbie and his family weren't happy about this, but tried their best to ignore it and move on. Karma wasn't ready to move on, though. After they eventually got bored of being massive douchebags, the boat of bullies started racing off into the distance. But with a sputter, they suddenly stopped, and a thick cloud of smoke billowed out from their engine. Robbie and co. looked on bemused. Then, boom! The engine exploded right in front of them. The passengers were forced to leap off the sinking vessel and found themselves floating in the lake, helpless and humiliated. They must have pushed it too hard while they were trying to speed off. Yet, despite their blatant harassment, Robbie didn't relish the sweet karma for too long. Instead, he chose to be the bigger person and rushed to the aid of the now soggy idiots. Damn, can't say I'd have done the same. Pup napped. Back in 2019, a Canadian man arranged to sell his puppy online. Little did he realize the act of pure idiotic karma he was about to witness. He met up with the prospective buyer at the agreed-upon location and handed over the puppy. However, the buyer had no intention of paying. In fact, he pulled a gun on the seller. Then, with the pup in one hand and the gun in the other, he ran off. Had he just committed the perfect crime? Well, no. The rushed robber was in such a hurry to leave that he accidentally pulled the trigger of his pistol and shot himself in the leg.
Oh.
He fell like a sack of potatoes and the cops showed up shortly after. The pup was returned unharmed to its rightful owner, and the clumsy criminal was sent to hospital before being charged for his crimes. Man, this guy doesn't sound like he could be trusted with a sea monkey, let alone a puppy. Champagne. At the border of the Russian city of Yakutsk sits a great monument to mark the city limits. On one August afternoon in 2015, a crowd of revelers was partying there, but they weren't giving the artwork the respect it deserves. For some reason, one of them thought it'd be a great idea to throw an entire bottle of champagne at the monument. This took aim, launched his game-winning throw. But in what can only be described as divine intervention, the bottle rotated in the air just the right number of times to collide into the concrete monument cork first. So, rather than smashing, the force of the impact caused the cork to fly off, sending the bottle rocketing back to the thrower as the pressurized champagne spewed out. Then, smack. Hey, don't disrespect art, or it'll disrespect you.
Oh my gosh, that is...
The Full Gospel Tabernacle in Jesus' Name is a bizarre church in the United States that handles venomous snakes during its sermons. They believe that they have nothing to fear from the serpents because God will protect them. So, successfully handling them provides proof of that protection. And by handling them, I mean flinging them around, shaking them, and generally treating them very poorly. Back in 2018, then-pastor Cody Coots was in the middle of his usual sermon, flailing a poor rattlesnake around as per usual. This time, however, despite Coots' so-called divine protection, the slithery reptile had a different idea. The danger noodle lunged and bit Coots in the ear. Now, you'd think a life-threatening snake bite would be reason enough to call an ambulance, right? Wrong! He was so confident God would protect him that he ignored the bite and chose to carry on with the sermon. That is until he collapsed and had to be rushed to hospital. Jeez. He narrowly avoided a terrible fate, but guess what? After recovering from the attack, he insisted on continuing with the bizarre sermons, and eventually this caught up with him, as he later succumbed to a snake bite in the same circumstances. I guess God only has so much patience. TikTok walk.
Honestly, I'm surprised Pia didn't get involved because that sounds very, very awful to do to a snake.
Another day, another bit of my faith in humanity chipped away by TikTokers. Over in Mexico in 2023,
What the fuck?
an influencer named Johnny Montesana was causing a commotion by clamoring all over a historical building in the name of internet clout. Let me give you some advice. Messing with old, unstable structures is not a good idea, whether they're historic or not. But Johnny didn't care. He was being filmed attempting to perform parkour on the ancient building. The keyword here is attempting. As soon as he made a jump, the ledge he landed on crumbled and gave way, causing the moron to slip and fall smack onto his head. But wait, it was a historic building. Yep, meaning that on top of his painful fall, he wound up facing 10 years in jail and a hefty fine of around $6,000.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yikes. Yeah, he definitely went viral for this little stunt, but I'm betting it wasn't in the way he hoped. A really bad day. In Pittsburgh in 2017, a routine robbery went more than a little south for one criminal. The sneaky thief planned to steal tires from a parked van he'd seen and sell them later on. So he waited until nightfall, propped the wheels up on wooden blocks, and crawled under to grab his loot. Then his evening got a whole lot worse. Turns out the blocks he'd used weren't up to the task. The van crushed them under its weight and slammed down hard onto the ground, with the villain of the piece directly under it. The next day, police arrived on the scene to find nothing more than a criminal pancake. Not what they'd fancied for breakfast that day, I'm sure. And on that note, I feel like I've had my fill of karma for one day. Who am I kidding? I want more. Do you have any karma-rific stories to share? Let me know down in the comments below and you might make it into the next video. Thanks for watching.
That's honestly... I don't know how to feel about that. Honestly, a lot of these are, something that actually makes sense for karmatic retribution. And I don't think anyone can really truly disagree. Since, yeah. Karma. Oh, how you work in mysterious ways. Can't say the actions were not poorly made, to be honest. It was well deserved, because... I mean, seriously, look at this. You try to be a jerk, you got manured on. Try to steal a bike, you got fling around. You tried to be abusive to a snake, you got poisoned, like, probably a few times. And bam. You got yourself killed. You tried to destroy art that was made by someone really, really talented. And then you got nut shot. You tried to steal a dog by brute force and willing to commit murder. You got shot in the leg by your own idiocy. Karma works in mysterious ways, but usually it comes back to bite those that wrong others in a very, very strong way. At least that's what I think, in personal opinion. So, yeah. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. And tell me what you think was the most satisfying time karma came for awful people. Honestly, I gotta say that the whole thing with the family abusing the animals or messing with them, I suppose is the right way. I say they're abusing them. Honestly, that's a call for PETA. But yeah, that's what I believe would be the best karma. And that, again, tell me what you think is the best karma. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!